Tony, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dolores?
Counselor Hammond,
Here.
Counselor Hurley,
Here.
Counselor Cochran,
Here.
Counselor Manousos may be late, Counselor Martino,
Here.
Counselor Rell,
Here.
Counselor Roberts,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Barry,
Here.
and Mayor Montanari is unable to attend. Thank you.
We have a couple of proclamations on the agenda. Is there anyone from the Girl Scouts here? Well, I'm going to read, I'll read the first proclamation, and then we have a second. Whereas March 12, 2015 marks the 103rd anniversary of the Girl Scouts of the United States of America. It began in 1912 in Savannah, Georgia. Juliet Gordon Lowe gathered 18 girls to offer them the opportunity to develop physically, mentally, and spiritually. And whereas also in 1912, Girl Scouting started in the state of Connecticut. For more than 100 years, Scouting has helped build girls into women of courage, confidence, character, making the world a better place. And whereas the Girl Scout leadership experience helps girls discover themselves, their values, connect with others, and take action to make the world a better place. And whereas through the dedication, time, and talent of volunteers of different backgrounds, abilities, and areas of expertise, Girl Scouts of Connecticut offers the Girl Scout leadership experience to more than 38,000 girls in grades K through 12 across the state of Connecticut. And whereas the Girl Scout Gold Award, the highest honor in Girl Scouting, requires girls to make a measurable and sustainable difference in their community, access a need, and design a solution, find the resources and support to make it happen, and complete the project. Whereas core programs around environmental stewardship, anti-bullying techniques, science, technology, engineering, and math, and healthy living helps girls develop a solid foundation in leadership. And today, more than 59 million American women are Girl Scout alumni, and 2.8 million girls and adult volunteers are active members. Mayor Montanari signed this. So now, therefore, I, Paul Montanari, do hereby applaud the Girl Scouts of the United States of America for more than 100 years of leadership and expertise, and proudly proclaim March 12, 2015 as Girl Scout Day. And I'll present that to Jeff.
Thank you. We'll make sure they get that.
The next proclamation is for Public Health Week, and I'd call Diane Duke. And the proclamation reads, whereas the American Public Health Association has proclaimed April 6th through April 12th, 2015 as National Public Health Week. And whereas this year's theme is Healthiest Nation 2030 and focuses on rallying around the goal of making the United States the healthiest nation in one generation by 2030. And whereas the celebration of National Public Health Week for the past 20 years reminds us of the fundamental role that our own state and local health departments play every day in the health of our communities. And whereas the town of Wethersfield, together with its neighboring towns of Newington, Rocky Hill, and Berlin, receives quality public health service through its regional health department, the Central Connecticut Health District, now in its 18th year of service. And now, therefore, I, Stephen Barry, as Deputy Mayor of the town of Wethersfield, on behalf of the Town Council, do hereby proclaim April 6th to April 12, 2015, National Public Health Week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Can I speak for a few minutes? Would
You
that be
may.
okay? All right. Good evening. My name is Diane Dude, and I'm one of your 3 representatives to the Board of Directors for the Central Connecticut Health District. With us tonight also is Angela Colantonio, who's one of your other appointed representatives. I just wanted to briefly say thank you to Deputy Mayor Barry and to other members of the Town Council and to members of the public for your recognition of Public Health Week and for the support that you all have shown to Central Connecticut Health District and its work that they do on your behalf. Deputy Mayor Bear's proclamation, he spoke a little bit about what Central Connecticut Health District is, and as he said, it was formed almost 20 years ago when the towns of Newington and Wethersfield joined forces together, realizing that regionalization could bring a lot of benefits to what the public health departments within the town had been doing. And today we serve almost 100,000 people with the inclusion of Berlin and Rocky Hill in the health district. And I wanted to thank you for recognizing Public Health Week. As you heard, it was April 4th and through 10th this week, and the theme, Healthiest Nation in One Generation, very an ambitious theme, but one that reflects the current goals of public health. There will be a lot of events planned this week, with more information coming through the Central Connecticut Health District office via our dynamic new director, Charles Brown, who I think town council has met. He's been here for previous meetings, including a forum with our community partners. We've developed partnerships with town departments like Parks and Recreation, the schools, police departments, hospitals, sports organization, volunteer advocacy groups, and we have an ongoing series of meetings to communicate about how we can achieve our common goals, particularly the goals of prevention of chronic disease, both mental and physical health, and increasing access to health care for the residents of our districts. And primarily, the way to do this is to figure out how to affect change at the level of policy and environment. As well, there'll be a community breakfast to kick off our 4-town employee walking competition, which I hope some of you have heard about. We're very excited about that. So again, thank you for this. Any comments, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Diane. The next item on the agenda is the presentation of the Wethersfield Board of Education requested 2015-16 budget. And Superintendent Emmett, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Portable generator.
That's the only one I saw. There wasn't. I looked through them all. I couldn't find what he was talking about. Too much bright?
For those of you in the audience this evening, I do have copies of the presentation if you're interested here up on the podium. Good evening, everyone, and again, thank you very much for the opportunity to present the board-approved Board of Education budget for fiscal year 2015-2016. We are well aware of the fact that the cost of education is very large, and we recognize the fact that here in Wethersfield, the cost of education is a major budget driver for the town. We also recognize the utmost importance of the educational process here in Wethersfield. Not surprising, Wethersfield currently selected as in the top 10 of best places for new families to settle. And I would like to think that a large part of that is the quality of the educational system. We've got right to the numbers at this point in time. Our current operating budget, $54,797,197. We're proposing a budget of $56,613,414. It's an increase of $1,816,217, representing an increase of 3.31% over the current spending. Let's talk a little bit about what the increase includes. By and large, the increase really focuses in on negotiated agreements, fixed costs, and state and federal mandates. There's not a lot of wiggle room here in the budget. We have contractual obligations among all of our bargaining units, as well as the cost of health care and retirement. In addition, we have contributed our share of the OPEB trust. We've seen increase in the health insurance numbers over the course of time. And in addition, in terms of initiatives, we're looking at the implementation of an elementary math program, K to 6, as well as the addition of one of 2 ELL tutors that we were looking for in the budget. And that ELL tutor is really designed to address the increasing needs for our English language learner population here in Wethersfield. In terms of requests not included in the budget, let me be clear on this particular slide. There were some requests that never made it into the budget to begin with, so let me go through those quickly for you. The 5 elementary media library specialists, those are certified positions that would replace non-certified positions that we have currently. That was something that was talked about among the principals but did not make it into the budget. A 1.0 elementary social worker. Originally, what our focus was 1.2, and what we decided to do was take the 0.2. The 0.2 on an FTE, full-time equivalent, accounts for 1 day. So what we're doing is we're utilizing grant funds through IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, to fund that 0.2. So that will not be reflected in the budget. Also, the request was made at Wethersfield High School for a 1.0 science teacher. That did not make it into the budget. However, I will let you know that in looking at the secondary school reform and the graduation requirement obligations that we have down the road, this is going to be a request that will come forward again in the future. I had mentioned a little earlier that we were looking at 2 full-time ELL tutors, and one has made it into the budget and one has not. We were looking for 2 SRBI tutors, one at Silas Dean and one at Wethersfield High School. SRBI stands for Scientifically Research-Based Interventions. This is an intervention process that happens prior to a referral to special education. And then last but not least, on the staffing side, we were looking at the addition of 2 custodians. As Mr. Bushy said during our budget deliberations, the 2 custodians would be nice to have. Down the road, when we finish the high school and have additional space with which to maintain, it will be a need to have. Also, requests not included in the budget included new textbooks, classroom furniture, building maintenance and upgrades, safety upgrades, improving student computer labs by replacing old outdated machines, and reduction in instructional supplies. Now, historically in the past, I've seen some rather robust budgets come before you, and I know superintendents have come forward with 8%, 7%, 6%. I thought right up front that it was prudent, after having conversations with several of you, to really come in with a budget that was lean. It moved us forward from a educational trajectory, but it was also responsible. And again, the majority of this 3.31 increase is really contractual. In terms of our budget efficiencies, we're really proud of the work that we do with the town with regard to combined purchasing and energy. We had projected the cost of diesel fuel to be about $3 per gallon. Heather Vargas, who we work with on the town side, had come in originally at $3.02. The lock-in price ended up being $2.17. So where we are right now, I can tell you right up front that from that savings, it's approximately $43,000 that's out there. I have not allocated that to anything, so that is there for potential savings. In addition to that, we continue to look at retirements. As I speak to you this evening, we've had a total of 4 retirements, and those retirements are reflected within this budget. I had mentioned earlier contract negotiations. We've been able over the past 2 years to come forward with favorable contracts, which decrease the burden upon taxpayers. We continue to focus on the pursuit of grants. Right now, at this point in time, as I speak to you, we're waiting for the results of a technology grant that Mr. Raffanello has applied for. And again, I think the overall process with our budgeting, we began the budgeting process earlier than ever before this year. We actually had our first budget workshop on November 18th. So we feel that that time, coupled with the fact that we had ongoing conversations with you folks, and again, very appreciative of the fact that for every budget workshop we had members of council present. I think that speaks volumes. And then the other thing that we looked at this year was the special education tuition forecasting. This year, for the first time ever, we're actually showing a decrease in the special education tuition line. And that's really born of the special ed department's focus on getting monies in from other towns for students that attend Wethersfield schools but have a nexus outside of Wethersfield. Our board goals, which we worked on earlier this year, are quite clear. We'll ensure that all students are prepared for lifelong success through comprehensive research-based curriculum and world-class instruction. We will make sure that all families and stakeholders are engaged and involved in the learning experiences of our students. And we should also provide a clean, safe, and positive learning environment for our students as well as our staff. As I mentioned earlier, we've had a total of 4 budget workshops starting in November 18th. We had 3 additional around all of those snow days. I want to talk a little bit about the budget action detail. This is a process that we went through over the course of time as we saw the savings. And again, this is kind of a scenario where we started and where we got to. Originally, when we started our budget process, our health insurance increase was about 12%, and you can see the reduction there of $337,816. That was the result of coming in through the work with Chris Monroe, at about 8.9%. With our defined pension contribution, we had budgeted originally $483,745. The adjusted contribution came in at $510,408. The workers' comp number, and let me explain this workers' comp number. As of last week, we heard from Mr. O'Neill, the finance director, that number was up 2%. So that $43,000 that I mentioned from the savings of diesel will be cut a little bit by that 2% increase in workers' comp. Again, we did our adjusted utilities. That number will change as well with regard to the diesel. So we looked right up front at a total reduction of $412,000. And with that, it was a budget of increase of 2.82%. And then again, we looked at our additions. The new math program, and again, new math program is K through 6. We had talked a little bit about the idea of phasing it in, K3 and 4 through 6. That had no support whatsoever from any of my principals and any of my teachers. So we're really looking to go all in. There's a large training component with regard to that as well. You'll also notice the addition of $4,390. That is a membership to NESDEC, which will focus us on our future endeavor of taking a look at our district as a whole. Right now, we know we're going through the renovation process at Wethersfield High School. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk with you a little bit about some of our elementary schools which are in dire need of repair. And really taking a look at this from a perspective of investing in the future for the long term. NESDEC would assist us in doing a study over the course of time for enrollment and would take a look at the current district boundaries and would provide us with some insight as to where we can go in the future with our elementary schools. And then last but not least, what you see down on the bottom is an ELL tutor at $27,106. As of October 1st, our ELL numbers had ballooned to 238 students district-wide, speaking a variety of different languages. I think at the last count, we were up to over 20 different languages and dialects here in Wethersfield. Very unique. And then last but not least, we end up with the NESDEC membership and study, the budget increase with the ELL tutor as well as the math program at that $56,613,414. Again, I'm not going to walk you through all of these, but certainly want to let the public know. We do go line by line, and you can see the proposed salary increase. Our salary increases are actually pretty stable. You'll see the big piece here as I go through and give you the annotation that goes with it. The big cost here is going to be custodial overtime. And the reality is with the renovation project, we have had staff on call at all times. Okay? And then our benefits. And again, the majority of these we don't control. I would direct your attention to the unemployment compensation. This budget, Board of Education budget, does not call for any staff reductions as it is funded at this point in time. In this workers' compensation increase, that will need to be adjusted. That's not reflective of the increase in the 2%. Again, the major area here in terms of technical services and pupil services. For a student who's special education, if we go to a PPT and we are required to conduct outside testing, independent evaluations, that's what represents pupil services. Again, we focus very clearly on providing free and appropriate public education in district wherever we can. Again, some of the maintenance pieces. One of the pieces that we included this year was the rental lease for technology. We have moved toward the leasing process with regard to our technology in an effort to stabilize the budget line. This technology lease focuses on putting devices in the hands of kids. At this point in time over at the high school, we're moving closer and closer to one-to-one. It's interesting to go into the media center and watch the kids come in and immediately go to the circulation desk to sign out the Chromebooks, and then sit down at one of the little lounge areas and start working. Or to go to Highcrest Elementary School into a 6th grade classroom, and rather than the teacher having to pull all the kids out to a computer lab, they can work right within the classroom. And again, the water increase, again, I wish our friends at the MDC would give us a break here, but sadly, not the case. The rental and lease of building, that you see that rather large increase there, that's reflective of the large number of storage units we have over at the high school at this point in time, while we're waiting to get additional space back. Transportation really pretty stable at this point. Again, you'll notice the pupil tuition. This is a huge dollar number, but you'll see for the first time since I've been here, in 2008, you're actually seeing a decrease for the upcoming fiscal year. And again, as we implement that technology, you're seeing less and less in the way of printing and binding as more goes online. Again, supplies and materials. The textbooks, you see the immediate increase of 121%. That is directly related to the implementation of the math program for K-6. And then the capital outlay. Again, we've worked hard right up front to reduce the spending in this area. There are some aspects that we just can't let go. For example, one of the things we need a lift, a pool lift at the high school, to give our students with disabilities access to the pool. And again, I talked about this with the board with regard to our budget outcomes, how we remain committed to providing a high-quality education for our kids. We're focused on continuous improvement while adhering to state and federal mandates that impact the budget. And we know, and as the data bears that out, we know that families make residency decisions based upon the quality and the reputation of its school system. And again, we know that the school district quality impacts our property values. And with that, I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Jeff?
Sure. Thanks. Michael, thanks for the great summary of your budget. A few things.
Sure.
One was on retirement. In the past, I know sometimes you've had tough to fill positions.
Yes.
Such as high school science teachers and math teachers. So when you've had a retirement, you haven't necessarily saved money because
Correct.
but it looks like you have about 112,000.
That's correct.
So where are the retirements that you're able to hire in at a lower level?
Elementary classroom teachers.
All four of
Yep.
them? Okay.
Yeah, some of the, like, for example, like a speech and language pathologist, very difficult to come by. And all of those will come in with a master's degree. Social workers, the same scenario. Social workers will come in with a master's degree right up front.
Okay. Next on paraprofessionals, I know last year one of the things that you did in order to keep the increase lower was, I think you eliminated like a dozen paraprofessional positions.
Correct.
I guess the question is, thanks, Jeff. Question is, was there any negative impact of that? And are you looking to restore or reduce further the number of paraprofessionals in this budget?
That's a good question. At this point in time, we're not looking to reduce any further. We found, and again, the way we ended up doing it last year, Mr. Cochran, was we focused on attrition. We had a fair number of paraprofessionals that were either part-time that left the district or retired. So we were able to reduce 11 part and full-time positions through attrition. What we were able to do was we reallocated the staffing out where we might have had a paraprofessional working with one child. We might have reallocated that paraprofessional to work with 2 or 3 students. And again, the idea that we look at too is we provide paraprofessional support to allow those kids to access the educational process. At some points, for example, at the high school level, what you really like to do is you like to begin to wean the students off that paraprofessional support. As we prepare those kids to move on to adulthood, that paraprofessional support isn't going to be there. So we really worked hard at the high school level to begin to scale that amount of service back. And again, focus the students on accessing the community as well.
Okay, so no changes upward?
No, we see no change at this point in time.
Okay.
With Paris.
And then lastly,
Sure.
you mentioned in there some increases due to storage. Looked like storage space being leased as a result of the high school renovation and also the pool lift. Those are in your budget? Those are not part of the high school renovation budget?
No.
And they can't be?
No. No, the renovation of the pool area is going to be limited to the locker room area as well as some of the ADA. That pool lift is equipment, and that's actually something we're using now. So, and the issue with the storage, I am hopeful as we start to get more space online, we'll have another large amount of space coming online in the summertime, early summertime, that we'll eventually be able to reduce the number of storage units that we have. But right now, we're full over there. We've got a lot of units.
Okay, and that doesn't get paid. I'm just thinking because the state is basically paying for half the cost of the project, but that
No,
is not covered.
No,
Storage
it's
is
not.
not covered.
no, not
Okay.
reimbursable.
Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
Deputy Mayor. Mayor for the day.
Any other questions? Yes.
Just a question in
Sure.
regards to the workers' comp. Understanding that there's an increase, and I would assume that there was also an increase on the town side as well. Will we be looking at opportunities to identify any trending from that regard so that both areas can work with risk prevention so that we can help to cut that number down?
That's a good question. I could say from the school system side, we are engaging in school safety committee meetings. We had one earlier this afternoon where we are looking at all of our accidents, what happens, and really kind of parsing out what we can do to improve safety across the district as a means of reducing the frequency. And what we've seen is, as we report these and we analyze them, we've seen an increase in the number, but a decrease in the severity. So we're hopeful that this work that we're doing will continue to pay off. So we see reduced workers' comp numbers in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike.
You had mentioned the 2 custodians that were not on the list. They would have been for Wethersfield High School?
One would have been for Wethersfield High School, and one would have been district-wide.
Okay. The one for Wethersfield High School, though, most likely after the school project's over, we'll need that.
Correct. Correct.
Roughly, what would the cost be for that?
You're looking at cost-wise, again, it depends on the level of experience. You're talking probably between $40,000 and $50,000
Okay.
maximum.
And that would probably be for the second one as well, for district-wide.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In response to that, would that be is your anticipation that would be in next year's budget, or would it be the year after that?
That, I'd be looking at next year's budget, because we're looking to get additional space online. Remember, all of our new space is online now, so we see that as a means of having to clean. In addition to that, we'll have the new green room, the green, let me say it the right way here, the green roof, with our new botany program. We'll have 2 new physics labs. We'll have English classrooms. We'll have the culinary program. So we've got a lot coming online. All of the guidance suites, the main office suite, the nurse's office. So we've got a lot that's coming on. So in addition to that, folks, over the course of the summer, the new area, for those of you that went on the tour, the area of the lobby, the community entrance as we now call it, that area will all be finished. So that'll all be floored, it'll be tiled, and then all the ceilings will go in. So that'll be space that will have to be cleaned as well on a daily basis. So. And again, if I might add, just before I finish up here, I know we're scheduled for later on this week to do, as by charter, the Section 704, so leadership of both the town and the board will be meeting on Wednesday to discuss what the budget looks like for the current year and what we're projecting for the end of this fiscal year. So that's happening on Wednesday. But again, I'd just like to say my heartfelt appreciation to all of you in terms of your insight. It made the process the most transparent I think it's been, and it certainly for us made it the most efficient, so I'm greatly appreciative.
As are we, and I think I speak on behalf of all the council. We really do appreciate the efforts that you and the Board of Education have gone through in this process, and it really was a productive process. Obviously, it started early, and there's already a lot of work that's been done, and certainly we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a number of public hearings, and I'm going to go through them one at a time and ask if folks have public comments on each of these particular hearing items first, and we will obviously move to general comments later. But the first public hearing is a resolution on authorizing the application for a historic document presentation grant. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on that hearing? Seeing no one, last call, I declare that hearing closed. The next item is a resolution on applying the Local Capital Improvement Program funds, LoCIP, for 2014-15 fiscal year to the reconstruction of Fairlane Drive. Does anyone have any public comments on that hearing item? Seeing none, I declare that hearing closed. The next item, public hearing to discuss the fiscal year 2015 Community Development Block Grant Program and to solicit citizen input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on that public hearing? Yes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, council members. My name is Kathy Forcier. They call me Kate, though. I'm the Executive Director of the Wethersfield Housing Authority. And this CDBG application is to do some upgrades to one of the senior housing complexes in town, the James Devlin, which is at 60 Lancaster Road. The units are 35 years old, and they're in desperate need of upgrades to the kitchens, bathrooms, and the flooring in order to keep them marketable. Any questions for me?
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on that public hearing? Yes.
My name is Peter Huckins. I'm from Community Consulting. I put a proposal into the town to write, administer, and implement the rehab grant for the James Devlin. I'd just like to say a few comments about the funding source, the Community Development Block Grant, Small Cities Program. It's been around since 1973. It is federal money, from HUD, administered through the Department of Housing at the state level. It's eligible for cities or towns whose populations are 50,000 or less. It's one of the few resources we have left to pay for housing, to help out housing authorities and for single-family housing rehab. For this public hearing, you had to put in a public legal notice in the paper at least 2 weeks, the first one at least 2 weeks before the public hearing, and another one after that, so that you can tell the public that we are having this public hearing and it's their opportunity to make comments, to just raise their hand and support the proposed project. The minutes of the hearing do go into the application. The funding source does look at the minutes of this meeting to make sure that the town is supporting such a proposal. They've been around since 1973, as I said. They cover housing, economic development, public infrastructure, and public modernization of public housing, which is the housing authority. You have to meet a national objective of at least 51% of the grant going to benefit to low to moderate income people, which the housing authority, the income levels at the housing authority to be a resident of that certainly complies with the benefit to low to moderate income people, the national objective that has to be met by the grant application. If anyone has any questions, they would like to ask me about small cities projects, but I do ask that if anyone does support this proposal, that they do raise their hand, get it into the minutes, so that the funding source knows that the town is supporting this type of proposal and application.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this public hearing item? Seeing no one else, I declare that hearing closed. Resolution authorizing the town manager to submit a grant application with the Department of Housing on behalf of the Wethersfield Housing Authority for $800,000 for improvements to the James Devlin Senior Housing Apartments. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment on this public hearing? Seeing none, I declare that hearing closed. Next item is 1E, resolution adopting a fair housing plan. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment on that hearing only? Seeing none, I declare that hearing closed. 1A1F, a resolution for use of small cities community development block grant program income. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment on that hearing only? Seeing no one, I declare that hearing closed. Finally, A1G, resolution adopting an amendment to the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program Income Use Plan. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment on that hearing only? And seeing no one, I declare that hearing closed. Next, public comments on any topic, general comments. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on generally? Mr. Colantonio.
Here we go again. Good evening. Gus Colantonio, 16 Morrison Avenue. Guess what? The stop sign. Equality and fairness in town. Since I've been requesting for a stop sign on Morrison Avenue, I've noticed that in town most of the stop signs are not needed. And yet, at the location on Morrison Avenue where by standards a stop sign is required, the town refuses to install one. The town manager on previous occasion has stated that it's against the law to install a stop sign on Morrison Avenue. I am still waiting for an explanation of why it is against the law. let me go back a little bit. Before the reconstruction of the sidewalk on Morrison Avenue, the intersectional side distance from Tifton Road, looking west on Morrison Avenue, was more than adequate for the posted speed of 25 miles per hour. The intersectional side distance at that time was 340 feet, as measured by the time. As you know, though, the reconstruction of the sidewalk narrowed the road from 30 feet wide to 24, and in certain locations even less, and shifted Morrison Avenue 2 to 3 feet south at the intersection with Tifton Road. This shift in the road was designed by the town to construct a sidewalk on the north side of Morrison Avenue, a sidewalk that nobody wanted on this location due to the poor intersectional side distance. As the result of the shift, the new intersectional side distance from Tifton Road was reduced from 340 feet to 232 feet. This distance does not meet the required intersectional side distance for 25 miles per hour, and yet, on the average, most of them go 31 miles per hour. Let me ask the following questions again, because I've asked it before and I will ask it again until I get the answer. What does Hillcrest Avenue has that Morrison Avenue does not? Hillcrest Avenue has 2 stop signs at the intersection of Orchard, and Orchard connects to Morrison Avenue too. By state standards, and as stated by the town manager, these stop signs are not needed. Intersectional side distance of 344 feet to the east and 970 feet to the west. Morrison Avenue has 1 stop sign at the intersection with Orchard in the westbound direction, and none in the eastbound direction, where the intersectional side distance, Morrison Avenue has no stop sign at the intersection with Tifton Road. By state standards, a stop sign is needed in the eastbound direction since the intersectional side distance is only good for less than 24 miles per hour, which is 232 feet. It was okay before the reconstruction. The design was done by the town. Now, let me refer to the police report dated May 21st, 2009 again. The report states the following. Stop signs should not be used for speed control. I believe that the stop sign at Hillcrest Avenue would install to control the speed and to reduce traffic on the street. Stop signs should be installed in a manner that minimizes the number of vehicles having to stop. Just the opposite has been done on Hillcrest Avenue. Once the decision has been made to install two-way stop control, the decision regarding the appropriate street to stop should be based on engineering judgment. In most cases, the street carrying the lowest volume of traffic should be stopped. Apparently, this was not done on Hillcrest Avenue. A stop sign should not be installed on the major street unless justified by a traffic engineering study. A traffic engineering study. The major street here is Hillcrest Avenue and not Orchard. Was a traffic engineering study ever done at this location? I doubt it. I would like to ask again for an explanation of why the requested stop sign on Morrison Avenue is against the law and is okay on Hillcrest Avenue and many more locations in town. And this will not be the last time for me to be up here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's Marjorie Carson, 12 Avalon Place. Few words to describe something. Exciting, problem-solving focus, fully researched, technology-based, complete, hands-on, built-in assessments, aligns with Common Core standards. Students get it. And finally, teachers and students love it. These are the statements from teachers and curriculum specialists, some of them are here right now, that describe the math curriculum called Go Math that the Board of Education hopes to adopt and implement in all of our elementary schools next year. Currently, our elementary schools do not have a fully formed or implemented math curriculum due to many changes in recent years with state and national standards. Our teachers can only use parts of our older curriculums and also supplemental and materials from various sources that is really in no way consistent throughout the schools. This year, they implemented a pilot program and in order to choose a new curriculum going forward, and Go Math was picked. And they're very excited about it. I went to 2 presentations on it as a parent, just as a parent, and I've never seen so much excitement about math coming forward through curriculum specialists and teachers. So I got excited, and so I'm excited for it. I just want to know, you to all know how important it is. I think a lot of parents are excited that the Board of Ed chose to adopt it in their budget, and that how important it is to start as soon as possible, which would be next year. And I know that from discussions with other people, and I don't know if this is true, but this is what I've heard, that if their budget is not adopted in full or in mostly adopted, the first thing that will go is probably this new curriculum, because it costs money. But I don't think we can wait on this. I don't think you can wait 1 or 2 years. I think we are kind of just flailing right now. And with the current standards, how important it is that we get a good math curriculum going in this town, that we should adopt it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Mr. Carrick. Karuk.
Good evening, David Karuk, 149 Broad Street. I was watching online and didn't realize that the Board of Ed would propose their budget today, but I saw it and I was watching a little bit and I thought I would speak a little bit. And I agree with Ms. Michael Emmett and the Board of Ed that you should fund what the Board of Ed needs. Mr. Emmett gleaned on a reality that I'm sure you all realize, that good schools mean good people move into your community, and that's the reality. My sister-in-law is a teacher, and the first priority was how good are the schools. So she moved to West Hartford in the Hall High area, because she thought, well, I want my kid going to Hall High. And that's a reality for a lot of people, at least for some people who really care about their students' education. Now, what's the difference between Hall High, Glastonbury, and Wethersfield? Well, they got more money. There's more money in West Hartford. There's a lot more money in Glastonbury, so they could pay for more. Now, what is the price of not paying for more? Well, Wethersfield High School, I was watching the video, they're asking for more technology. They're asking for more textbooks, math especially, if you deny this, what are you saying? You don't want to compete with the good schools? We'll just stay mediocre? Now, I hope that's not true. I have a daughter in high school, in Wethersfield High currently, and she's doing well. But I'm thinking about the future of Wethersfield. I also have a son who's much younger, who will eventually be in middle school and high school, and I don't want Wethersfield schools going downhill, and they aren't, and I know what going downhill is, because I grew up in Hartford in the 70s and 80s as a student, and while I was in school in the 70s, our band, grammar school band had the top band in the city. And we were a lot better than a lot of the suburbs. And then in the 80s, there were cutbacks. And what's the first thing they cut? They cut the band, and they got rid of the band. This was after I left grammar school. I was in high school, and to this day, we have no band in grammar school. And that was a loss. I'm not saying that led to the decline in Hartford, but I'm sure it had some effect. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be at the same level as West Hartford or Glastonbury, but we should at least try. We should at least give our students opportunities to reach that level with the new technology, the new textbooks. Otherwise, we're setting them up to fail. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Krug. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Moving on to council reports. Yes, Donna.
I have a couple reports. I attended the Housing Authority meeting last Monday. Very supportive of the resolution items coming forward. They're really working hard to develop their plan to renovate the James Devlin Senior Housing and looking at opportunities and options that they have available to them for that. The other meeting that I attended was the Shade Tree Commission, who happened to have Eversource come, the senior arborist, come to that meeting. They will be doing some further tree trimming in 2015 in the north part of Wethersfield and through Ridge Road. I do have a map that I can pass around that I did take some notes with. It will be really to hit places that they haven't hit before, with a key of the different type of work they will be doing. They will be putting information out for the public, and they will be going house to house when they're in that particular neighborhood, getting permission from that resident with the trees that are in question. So I'll pass the map around so people can see it.
Thank you, Donna.
Start down there.
Jeff.
Thanks, Steve. We had a meeting of the Shared Services Committee last week, and I subbed in for Jerry in her absence. And we continue to make progress in terms of merging essentially the information technology groups at both the Town Hall and in the Board of Ed. We have one of the 3 positions on the town side is open, and we had some discussion about what type of position we would want to fill, or what type of talents we would want to fill into that position if we were able to successfully merge the departments by the middle of this year, which I think is a goal of the group. So the next step is basically to put some sort of memorandum of understanding together. The town and the board would do that, and then we meet, I think, within a few weeks or so. So that process is moving.
Great, that's great work. Thank you. Tony.
I was at the EDIC meeting. They had both a marketing subcommittee meeting and a regular meeting. And at their last subcommittee meeting, they had Tom Hempel from data processing there to review proposed changes and creation of a Wethersfield webpage. Tom is looking into it and saw there was something that could be done, and we'll get it into the queue to get that done. Project started shortly. Discussions were held on having a welcome wagon group bring a welcome package to new homeowners in town, getting like gift cards or coupons from various businesses to give new people to town so that they can go and try out the new establishments when they move here. And we're going to coordinate that through the real estate agents in town and the chamber, so that once a house is sold, the real estate agent will bring this package and welcome the people to town and give them something about the businesses in town. We also received at the regular meeting an update from the Chamber of Commerce on their activities. Upcoming events they have coming are a dinner at the Yacht Club, an antique car show. They're working on a second annual fireworks display, which will be happening in May. And the Chamber in May will also be having their annual dinner to support the businesses in town.
Thank you, Tony. Any other council reports? I did, and many of us, I think, went on the tour of the high school, and that really is impressive to see the amount of work that is going on while the students are actually attending school as well. So it really is impressive to see how much is getting done and how that project is moving forward with the science and the English areas opening up soon next year. That really is something that was the driver for the project from the beginning. So although we have these new additions, which are absolutely wonderful, the science portion of the building will be opening up, and to you know, the math and sciences are obviously important at the elementary level, but it also has to continue up into the high school years, and that's something that again, I think was a driving force when the project was first envisioned many years ago. So it was really exciting to see all of that, and I think anyone who was on the tour would agree. And that's all I have on the report for the high school. Any council comments? Seeing none, Jerry.
I just, I'm sure this has been done over the past few weeks, but I want to thank the town workers again for the yeoman's job they've done with the snow removal, and now especially coming out to clean up the cul-de-sacs. I live in the Pequog area, and there's quite a few cul-de-sacs in that area. They've been out several times this year removing snow, clearing out the storm drains, and last week they were actually asking people in the neighborhood if if the work that was done to their satisfaction. In all the years I've been on council, I don't ever remember having town employees ask, for input on the job they've done. So I just want to praise them, and Sally Katz, and also Jeff for the direction he's given them. Great job.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the group.
Okay.
And Jeff, I don't have it in front of me. I know it's online, but I think there's one more coffee with the mayor. Do you have that date?
March 27th.
There's March 27th, and then April 14th.
Okay, and those are obviously
They're posted online.
they're posted online, and it is important. It's a less formal setting than obviously a council meeting, and it's a good opportunity for members of the public to sit down with a councilor and the mayor and discuss what's on their minds. So those are upcoming as well. Any other comments? Jeff?
With the loaded agenda, I think everything I have to say is on there.
Fair enough. And how about you, Dolores?
I just want to remind people that the charter revision is having their second public hearing before they report to council, and that's going to be March 26th between 7 and 9 p.m. Fishing season opens April 11th. It's early, and the public hearing on the budget is April 20th in this room at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Dolores. Next items. I don't believe there are any resignations or appointments. Is that correct?
Correct.
Moving on to item 3A. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution for the LoSiP funds for the reconstruction of Fairlane Drive.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. I'll ask Mike Turner to come up and discuss this one.
Good evening. The LoSiP funds are essentially a grant that the town gets from the state with very specific requirements on what specific construction items we can use that money for. We have always, as a community, put our LoSiP money into our road reconstruction projects, and historically what we've done is we've selected a major road that would be well exceed the normal budgeting process of milling and overlay. So we typically would select a road for reconstruction, and oftentimes what we need to do is actually save up enough LoSiP money for several years to be able to pay for the size of the projects that we're looking at. Some of the roads that we've done: Middletown Avenue, Church Street, Goff Road. We just recently did Jordan Lane, and Fairlane Drive is the next one that's on the list. It's all been vetted by the paving committee, and those recommendations are set to move forward. Once this money is in place, this entitlement comes up every March from the state, but with LoCIP money, you have to make a formal resolution by the town council requesting the money for a specific use. So that's what this is for.
Any questions? Jeff?
Mike, we approve it. When would the work start and how long would it take? And if you could go through, you're basically, talk about a little bit about the work that goes on when we say reconstruction. Are you putting in like new storm sewers in here? Or are you going down to the, basically the base?
We basically rip out the pavement and the base. So we're digging down essentially 18 inches, the entire length of the road, resetting catch basin tops, adding drainage piping where we need it. And then essentially you're rebuilding the road from scratch, so to speak, new curbing, new pavement, new base. You have on your agenda the bid item with general paving, so we've prepared the plans, we've let the bid out. The bid will be within our budgeted amount with the LoCIP money accepted, and it would start this summer.
And would it be done this year?
Yes.
Yes, Mike Hurley.
Is it all the fairway from Griswold to Foxhill?
Fairlane.
Fairlane, I mean?
Yes. Yes.
And
Except for the last maybe 50 feet or so. MDC had constructed or reconstructed some up to the very first sanitary manhole, so we'll be matching it at that point from down near Griswold.
What other roads were up against it to go on? The only one I remember was like Back Lane was a big project.
Back Lane is a milling and paving. That's not a reconstruction.
Okay. What other roads were up against it to have reconstruction? Do you remember? There must be other roads in town, right?
Oh, there's plenty of there's plenty
was
of roads.
that was the one on the top of the list?
That was the best reconstruction candidate. What we look for is a significantly sized road, something that, you know, again, would be just outside the realm of where we can do it during a normal budget course.
Any other questions? Jerry?
This is going to end up hitting up against Fox Hill, and Fox Hill is going to get done. I know it's not being reconstructed, but is that on the schedule for the spring for?
Fox Hill has some repairs that will be done in the springtime, and I believe it's on the fall list.
It's getting worse by the minute. I mean, after.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
You gotta just shut it down, except for people that live there, because there's no road left to drive on. So anything can be done to fix that sooner would be good.
Yes, Jeff.
While you're here, a question I have is the intersection of the Berlin Turnpike and Pawtucket. There's like these very, very large potholes, so people either turning onto the turnpike or off of the turnpike onto Pawtucket. It's right near the Sunoco station. Is that where? I don't know if you're familiar what these giant gaps are. Is that our responsibility, or is that the state's responsibility?
I believe it's the state's responsibility, because the Berlin Turnpike right-of-way is pretty wide at that point, so it extends back into the intersection, but I'll certainly...
If you could circle back with them, because it's, I mean, people have to slow down so much when they turn off the turnpike that I'm just worried about people getting rear-ended.
Yep.
And the DOT was out Saturday patching the turnpike. So
And Sunday, I saw them Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know how far they got, though.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Item 3B3B.
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing the grant application.
Second.
Jeff?
I'll ask Dolores to talk about this one. This is her program, and she needs to put her microphone down. Thank you.
This is for a targeted grant for the Historic Document Preservation Program that's offered by the State of Connecticut, the Public Records of the Division of the Library. And it is something that we can apply for to get some of the money back that we collect for them, to help maintain the records in our vault specifically. This year it's a $4,000 grant. It had been as high as $7,500. And we do have to apply to our legislative body in order to go to the state to get it back. So that's what we are applying. I intend to get a new Mac cabinet. We're repairing a lot of the books in the vault currently, and our indices that let everybody know where their things are. And we just had the rest of our maps put on computers so we can print them out for the for our residents as they come through and need them. So this will just help have the actual maps in a better cabinet where they would be hanging.
Any questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Item 3C.
Motion to reclassify Sabino Bagerio in the Physical Services Division as a maintainer 2, grade 8, step 5, effective March 2nd, 2015.
Second.
Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor Council. At the last meeting, you reclassified Mr. Bagerio as a step 8, class 6. It should have been a class 5. So just a correction on last month's or last meeting's action.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Item 3D1.
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing an application of up to $800,000 to the Small Cities Community Development Grant Program for improvements to the James Devlin Senior Housing Apartments.
Second.
Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. The Housing Authority cannot apply directly for Community Development Block Grants funds, so we, as the sponsor, we apply for them, and they become a subrecipient. As the applicant, we need to pass a resolution of support authorizing the manager to apply for the funds in coordination with the Housing Authority.
Any questions?
Yeah, do you, and maybe Kate should answer this, but do you remember how many units, recall how many units? 50. Okay, all right.
Yeah, very sizable project.
And how old are they, about? 35 years, okay.
Best set of avocado fixtures you could find.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Item 3D2.
Approve the subrecipient agreement between the Town of Wethersfield and Wethersfield Housing Authority for a 2015 Small Cities Community Development Block Grant for renovations to the James Devlin Senior Housing Apartments, conditional upon approval of the agreement by the Town Attorney.
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. As a part of this process, since the town will be the applicant, the Housing Authority is the subrecipient, there's a formal agreement between the two that outlines the responsibilities, insurance requirements, processes, and remedies in the event that something goes foul. The town attorney, Jack Bradley, has reviewed the agreement, and this afternoon let me know that it was acceptable. So it's a standard subrecipient agreement that small cities programs use.
Any questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Item 3D3.
Motion to accept the proposal from Community Consultant for the administration of the 2015 Small Cities Community Development Block Grant.
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Hey, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council, as part of the process, a consultant needs to be hired to help write the application and manage the grant if it is awarded. RFPs were put out. A committee made up of Kate, a representative of my office, and the building department reviewed those proposals and is recommending Community Consulting, who has done work for us before, is currently working on projects now. They came back with the best overall program and very excellent references.
Any questions from council? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Item 3D4.
Motion to approve the 2015 Fair Housing Plan?
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. As part of the application package, the town needs to adopt a fair housing plan. This refreshes the one we've adopted for similar grants.
Any questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Item 3D5.
Motion to adopt a resolution and program income reuse plan for the 2015 Community Development Block Grant application?
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. Also, as part of the application process, we need to develop a plan on how to use any income remaining or that's returned to us as part of the grant proceeds. Basically, it says it'll be reinvested back into similar projects.
Any questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Item 3D6.
Motion to adopt a resolution amending the use for the program income funds?
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. The town had participated in prior small cities grants which did individual single-family home rehab. The proceeds of those returning liens, when you sell, basically what it is you rehab a house with a lien on it for the value of the rehab, and when those houses refinance or sell, those loans are repaid. We no longer offer those rehab programs, so the money cannot be used for anything else other than another typical housing rehab program, which this particular project is. So we're proposing to take the program income we've received from the repayment of the housing rehab loans and apply it towards the rehabilitation of these senior housing apartments, which is an applicable use under the guidelines. We just need to amend our reuse plan.
Very good. Any questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to item 4A, bids.
Motion to accept the proposal from Rampage LLC for $37,395 for repairs to the Millwood Skate Park?
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. I'll ask Kathy Bagley, Director of Parks and Recreation, Social and Youth Services, and all other things good, to explain this one.
Thank you. Good evening. We're looking to, this bid is to repair the skate park out at Millwoods Park. It's, particularly after this winter, I'm sure it'll be a little bit more of a mess, but what's happened over the past several years is we've had some of the concrete at the base crumble a little bit. We've been repairing it, but it's at the point now where it needs to have a major fix. So we went through a request for proposals process in order to find a company in the area that would actually come in and do the repair. As for concrete for skate parks, it's a little different than concrete for a sidewalk. So what we were looking for was someone with experience with skate parks that could do an in-ground concrete project. And we were fortunate enough to find a company that came through the process that has both the references and the experience to do a good repair for us.
Any questions? Jeff.
Kathy, what references did you check? Where else have they done this work?
They've built skate parks around the country, and they've recently done a repair of an above-ground skate park in Farmington, Connecticut in 2013, and we got very good references from that, recommendations from there. And they also did we asked them to give us a couple references that were close. They also did a repair of an in-ground skate park, which is similar to ours, in Acton, Massachusetts, and they did that 2014. And the town there is looking, they're doing an expansion of the skate park, and they're hoping to hire this company again. They were very satisfied with their work.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike Hurley.
3 of the vendors had lower bids than this. They didn't have good references, I guess.
We asked each company to come in and give us their process of how they were going to do the work and what experience they had with skate parks. And they did have experience with concrete and doing pours of concrete. None of them had done any work with skate parks.
That's with regard to both that were lower than,
All of the vendors, the other ones that were lower, none of them had experience with skate park building.
okay. Jerry?
Yeah, I think the narrative says that the RFP required a warranty period maintenance bond for 3 years, but the chart of all the vendors looks like for Rampage, it's only a 12-month warranty period.
We brought that to their attention. The RFP requires that, and that's what they're going to be held to.
Okay.
Mike Ralph?
Thanks, Kathy. The Rampage, they're the only ones that do not have a start date or like a completion date on their RFPs, if I'm not mistaken. Number of days work starts after West Pro, 30 to 60, weather permitting, 15, 15, 30, and 30. The ones we're going with do not have a date. Is that of any concern?
No, all of them told us that basically they would start the work when the weather was appropriate to do the concrete, to actually pour the concrete. You want to make sure you're doing it with the right temperature. They told us it would take approximately, for the work itself, 7 to 10 days, and then there's going to be a curing process for the concrete. And they actually went into great detail for us how they were going to secure all that to allow it to cure and no one to disturb it.
Would there be fencing around there or some markings to tell the
Yep,
kids not to?
We're going to make sure all the fencing is secure, but also they have a process where they put burlap over the whole thing and secure it down. So in essence, the park can't be used while we're waiting for the concrete to cure.
Great, thank you.
Stothy, did you have
No, it's okay, I think I'll.
answered? All right, Jerry.
Does that park still get a lot of use? Is it still as popular as it was when it first opened, or?
Yes, it gets a lot of use. Okay. It's really, it's kind of neat to see. They're there pretty much all weather. This is the first winter I actually didn't see them shoveling it out. I think we just got too much snow. But, and we've been working with them. They've been bringing to our attention that it needed more work, and they're looking forward to us getting this work done.
Thanks.
Actually, Steve, yeah, I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Kathy, on the bids, there's a footnote on vendor one about multiple bids that were submitted. Can you just describe what the difference is between what they were submitting, say the price with Class F 4,000 PSI with fiber as opposed to what the other bidders are?
Those footnotes were one of the vendors. If we had wanted the work done very quickly when it was cold weather, there are different products that they can use when that you might not normally pour concrete in, and each of them is a different level of when they could do some of that work.
Mm-hmm.
In essence, they could go in there now if there was no snow, but right now it's still cold.
Okay, so is there really a difference between pouring concrete for a skate park as opposed to just having experience with concrete?
If you were, yes, I would say yes, because of the type of surface you need, that it has to be very smooth for both the skateboards and the bikes that are in there, so that there is a special type of concrete that's used, and also the way it's poured and the way it's, I'll call it smooth out, to get that particular surface. When we first built the park, it needed that. If you ever looked at the park, there's a very smooth surface, doesn't look anything like a sidewalk.
Right.
It's probably the best way to describe it.
So these other two companies, or a few companies in particular, they've never done smooth concrete work, like garages or anything else that would require that same kind of a skill of pouring concrete or finishing it?
When we did our request for proposals, we were looking for a company that had done skate park work. That was one of our criteria, because we found in our research that it's still a particular skill.
Okay. So it may not be a lot. I mean, I'd like to see at least this vendor match the low bid, especially since one of them happens to have a Wethersfield address, as a Wethersfield business. But that's just me, I guess.
Again, I'll reiterate, we had a panel do an interview process to select the most qualified, and we did look at every proposal very carefully, and thought this would be, again, it was a request for proposal, so we didn't have to go with a low bidder, unless council asked us to go in that direction.
Any other questions? Or comments? My view is this is an important project. We often pay attention to athletic fields and the like, and other areas of recreation, and this is also another outlet for, an athletic outlet for folks of all ages, frankly, but mostly younger folks. And I think it's important to get it done and get it done right. Millwoods is has undergone a lot of work. So anyway, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. And
Abstained.
it's only to the pricing, not to the project itself.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item 4B.
Motion to approve the bid from General Paving for $433,735 for the reconstruction of Fairlane Drive.
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. Mike leave? Oh, there he is.
Good evening again. As we discussed prior, this project was designed and put out to bid actually last year in anticipation, of moving it forward. General Paving was the low vendor, the low bid price at that time. That we received 6 bids. We decided to postpone the project to this year to make sure that we had all of the funding in place from LoCIP to be able, so that we wouldn't have to tap into our road levy funds. This project is being funded entirely using the state LoCIP money administered through us, which we just, previously voted on. So, Mr. Tavci's ready to go, and we're looking
Very
forward
good.
to it.
Any questions? Jeff.
I'm just, and I may be dense on this, but I'm looking through the, what we have, and it looks like bidders 1, 2, 3, and 4 line up pretty well. I see 566,653, 797, 433. So among those 4 bidders, General Paving is by a long shot the low bidder.
Yes.
But then what we have for the bidders 5 and 6 doesn't seem to be similarly categorized, at least in what we got in our packet. So I was wondering, what were the bids for those last 2 bidders? Can you tell? Cherry Hill and King Construction.
There's a page missing.
Well, there is. I don't have the exact numbers. If you wanted to table it for a little bit, I'll do some research and see if I have a copy with me. I don't have the paper. I have the same paper copy that you do.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can wait.
Motion to table till Mike gets the information?
Second.
All right. We'll move on at this point to item 4.
Can we move to E? That way Mike can go and then come back and do the other items.
Okay. Let's move to 4E.
4E, approve the purchase of portable generators from Hertz Corporation for $25,745.05.
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. As part of our generator projects and the upgrade to the 911 system, we purchased or are requesting to purchase a portable generator. This would power the PD in the event the stationary backup power went down. It also can power our tower site at Executive Square, and it is adaptable to use at other buildings and other locations across town.
Any questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Item 4F.
Motion to approve the purchase of an uninterruptible power supply for $27,776.61 from CDW for the high school renovation project.
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
We'll let Keith Raffanello, Director of Technology for the district.
Keith, you were ready, huh?
Sure, thank you so much. We have, in the high school, we have 11 total closets that house our technology infrastructure. There's the head end main closet that we've always had that we have battery backup in. In fact, when we upgraded our equipment, our digital footprint is smaller now, so we are requiring less amps. So we were able to take UPSs out of the head end and put them in one of the other 10 closets. So what we're asking for here is that we put battery backup in the 9 other closets. We just spent about $190,000 getting all new switches for the high school. They're gigabit switches, which means they're 10 times faster than what we had. Those are installed. And now with this new high school, we are doing much more than we used to over the network infrastructure. The cameras, for example, the security cameras use the current internet infrastructure, HVAC, VoIP, and the intercom system. So these battery backup units would provide 7 hours of uninterruptible service, which is an entire school day, which means if we lost power, we would still have internet. And also the brownouts. Brownouts can cause wear on this equipment that we've just invested in. So with the battery backup, our equipment will be protected from brownouts as well as blackouts. And this is state contract pricing.
Any questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item,
Motion to approve the proposed change order number 118 with Southern Middlesex Industry for $55,659.
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Council. This work was done some time ago, and we've been in the process of looking at the pricing related to recontainment. As you know, we're trying to mix the cleaning of the building in terms of hazardous material removal with construction of the building. So we have periods when we recontain. You take our program is we remove an eighth of an inch of material, test, come back. If it's not clean, do it again. In this particular instance, because of the time frames, they took down the containment areas. Significant numbers of areas came back where another eighth had to be removed, so they had to recontain, and that's the price for this. So,
Any questions?
Is this part of the regular budget? Or is
this would be a change order add.
Okay.
So I just had a question. So they recontain it and then they go back and take more off? I guess I don't understand. So then if it doesn't work again, then they have to spend more money?
Well, if it didn't work a second time, we would have left it up. The second time we leave it up.
Oh, then it's just contained?
We just wait then. And we wouldn't take the containment down till the second set of labs came back.
Okay. And this can go on?
It can. There are areas in the school where the PCB levels in the floor are an inch or a half inch and deeper. So in those areas where we know it's that deep, we just leave the containment up until we're done. But this work had to be intermingled with other work, so the containment got taken down.
So the cost could go up? Even, this could come back for the
You could
same,
see this
for this
again,
same
absolutely.
thing? Okay.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I just, for clarification, in this particular area, that's not likely, but in other areas of the building, it could reoccur.
Yeah, our next big remediation's this summer. So the goal is to make sure we get it cleaned once, take the containment down and move on.
So in this area, it won't happen again?
No, in this area, it's done. We've actually started putting this area back together.
Okay. All right. We have, any other comments?
Just
or
one
questions?
quick question. Comparing size of what this project was and what may be done over the summer, is this a smaller area or a larger area?
It's a larger area.
Today's is a larger area.
This one had numerous areas where it had to be recontained.
Okay.
So it was a combination of different areas that needed immediate, additional
Immediate
remediation.
abatement. Okay. So the 55,659 today, over the summer, we probably won't see something that high.
Not for
because
not for recontainment. Now, if they find additional material,
Oh,
it
yeah,
has to be
definitely.
abated, of course.
Right.
But we don't, knock on, you hope we're programming properly where we're not pressed up against the wall waiting. We can wait the couple days for the labs to come back before we dismantle the containment.
Okay.
That would be the program.
Was this work done over the Christmas break? Was that when it was done, or was it before that?
It was late summer.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. 4F3.
Motion to accept proposed change order number 116 for the Wethersfield High School project.
Second.
Mr. Town Manager.
Mike, you want to take this one?
This is essentially, it's a no-cost change order, and it's basically the reassignment of work from one steel vendor, which was our steel guy that did the additions, to our current steel vendor. So it's a deduct off of one and add onto the other. The net cost of the project is zero.
Okay. Any other questions on that? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Are we ready to go back to was it 4C?
Yep, 4C,
A B, I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, I do not have the complete bid tab in my electronic file. I know that General was obviously the low bidder by a significant amount, but it's up to the council. If you would like, we can come back with the complete information.
Our next meeting is April 2nd.
And how would that interfere with the,
It won't interfere with his schedule.
okay, can we have a motion on that?
It's already been tabled.
Okay. So that's been tabled?
Yep, it's fine.
Okay.
All right, move on
I
to.
apologize for that.
That's fine. And we will move on to 4C.
Motion to increase the purchase order for Costello by $35,000 for milling services based upon the 2015 state bid unit pricing.
Second.
Mike's up.
Sure.
Good evening. Costello happens to be the low vendor for the DOT district that serves Wethersfield. And Costello is the company that does the milling operation that we do. What we're doing is, his current contract we have Costello in place right now, so what we're looking to do is just do an increase to his purchase order to cover the work that we're gonna do in the springtime.
Any questions?
I just had a question.
Yes.
Could you just go over again how much it costs for like 1 mile of milling and paving?
1 mile of milling and paving with all the curbing, catch basin tops, things like that, it's about $300,000.
I just thought I remember back lane being like 600,000 or something crazy on the thing, and you had said it was milling and paving before. It sounded like it was reconstruction, so could we just look at that?
Yeah, that one there is recommended for milling and paving, not a reconstruction.
Okay, it just seems like it's
Yeah.
crazy high on one of the sheets.
It's a long road.
Yes.
Is it, I don't know, is it more than a mile, though?
No.
Okay.
Goes all the way down to the, almost to the condos, though, right?
From
It's
Pro-
right
yeah.
at the condos, all the way to Prospect.
All the way to Prospect, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the sheet says it's 400 something.
Right.
Yeah. We'll take a look.
Yes.
Mike, just to make sure I understand, this is all part of the budget?
Yes, it is.
Just because we want to do more, we just
That-
have to go back out for?
That's correct. That's correct. Each year, once we set the program, we take the actual bid prices, put it into a spreadsheet, so we have actual costs for all of the roads that, you know, the paving committee recommended and council endorsed, so.
Okay, so this would have been in addition to the work they did in the fall?
Last fall, yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. 4D.
Motion to increase the current purchase order for Tilcon by $300,000 for paving services based on the state of Connecticut bid prices.
Second.
Mike?
Good evening. This is the same thing as the milling bid. Tilcon is the low vendor for the actual placement of asphalt and tack coat on our roads. In this particular case, their contract with the state has not been awarded yet. The bids have been opened, so we know the results, and they've agreed by letter to hold the bids that, you know, that they put forth, but the actual state award has not been made yet. So we can't say we want to tag on to that award because it hasn't happened yet. The state's in the process of doing that. So, but they have agreed to hold those prices that they bid and have done so by letter.
Jeff?
Yeah, Mike, just a question, because I remember whenever oil prices are going up, we hear, therefore, asphalt prices are going up and road paving costs. Now oil prices are going down, but are we not seeing any reduction?
We actually did an analysis of last year at this time versus this year, and there's a $10 a ton difference in what's known as the liquid asphalt. Liquid asphalt is the liquid tar, if you will, that they mix in to make the asphalt. That went from $560 to $550 per ton as of last Thursday, I believe, when the agenda package was put together. That did not reflect a difference in our overall paving budget. So in other words, they're holding their number. They you know, I think it would have made a difference of like 40 to 60 cents a ton. So it would have, you know, been maybe, you know, $400 or $500 difference. So they just, you know, it's too small of an increment for them to make an adjustment with their unit price. So they're holding their unit price.
Okay. Do we think that maybe when we get into the next cycle?
Perhaps in the next cycle, apparently it's a commodity that doesn't, you know, while there may be a lot of daily ups and downs and what have you, there's not an overall, you know, sharp trend. So, you know, I suppose if you're doing hundreds of miles of road like the state of Connecticut probably will, that would, you know, that little incremental cost would make a big difference. But for the amount of miles that we're doing, it's not. But we do look at that.
Thanks.
Any other questions? A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Next item is a resolution, and that's simply for introduction. Moving on to the minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any revisions, comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
I have two abstaining. Counselor Roberts
Yeah,
and
you abstain.
Counselor Manuso.
I think my name was on it, as being there, huh?
No.
Thought it was on it as being not there,
Oh.
absent.
Then I'll abstain.
No, you weren't here last time.
All right. I'd taken a motion to adjourn.
Public
Oh,
comment.
I'm sorry. Public comment, I'm sorry, Mr. Colantonio. Didn't mean to rush.
It's okay, it's not even 9 o'clock yet. Good evening again, Gus Colantonio. And I'm going to give you some numbers right here. But this reflect the Wethersfield Life article, which, on board pours over budget. The Board of Education is proposing a 3.59% increase over last year. I think it came down a little bit. These are the numbers that I prepared. An increase of $1,967,459. Let me quote. D'Angelo said the best the district can do now is to meet its contractual obligation and maintain the current quality of education program and services. And she keeps on going and says, we try to do our best for the kids, but the money's not just there. And my answer is contractual obligation seems to be the buzzwords used to go along with anything the union wants. The best for the kids. Nothing in the budget mentions any increase for the kids. I have my doubts that this is not the best for the kids. We need to reduce or eliminate all the powers of the unions. I've asked before and I will ask again, who represents the taxpayers in the union negotiation? Years ago, the teachers were in the profession because they loved the job to educate. Now the teachers and Board of Education are in the system for the money and what they can get for themselves. Going on, there is a quote again. Over the past 4 fiscal years, the average spending increase in town for public education is 2.9%. Wethersfield spends $14,443 per student. $14,000. A friend of mine living in town has 2 kids in private school at a cost of $6,000 per child. What a difference. He still pays property taxes that go toward the Board of Education budget. He does not get any benefits from our public schools. Now I have to ask the question, if everybody in town had the possibility to send their kids to private school, do you think there will be a need for public schools? I don't think so. Then I would suggest to turn the public school system to a private school and improve the education system immensely. Think it this way. Privatize the school system and send all the students in town to private school at a cost of $8,000, which is $2,000 more than he's paying now per student. The town would save basically $6,000 for each student for the amount of $21,744,000. Can you imagine that? The article keeps on going. The proposed increase for this year was a result of many of our usual budget drivers, such as salaries and wages, healthcare benefits, and unfunded state mandates. Salary and wages alone account for more than half of the increase at $35.2 million of the $56.7 million total. Just a note, the average American wage has stayed the same the past 5 to 6 years, yet everybody in the Board of Education system has had an increase every year since I can remember. The last quote, the cost of health insurance, retirement, workers' compensation, and other employee benefits is more than $1 million higher than at present. The cost of employee benefits keeps on going higher in public works, and the employee benefits in private jobs keep on going down. Do not forget that the household income of residents that pay these salaries in town has gone down for the past few years, while the household income of public works has gone up. There is something wrong with this picture. Public works employees always say that they are the servants of the people. And my question to them is, why are the servants making more money than the masters with no accountability or sense of responsibility? Another quote to answer Councilor Roberts, always praising the workers in town. Before the reconstruction of the sidewalk, after the winter or after a storm, the town would come by and remove the snow. Even last year, they came by and removed the snow. Now this year, one of the worst snow or winters that we had, I never seen anybody remove it. And keep in mind that one section from Orchard to Tifton has not really changed at all, except for the road is from 30 to 24. And yet, we had for many days, there was not even enough to go by 2 cars, you know, we had problems. So I guess if some of the council people would reside in Morrison Avenue, probably things would get removed better. Thank you.
Thank you. And definitely no other public comment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
They only got through